It's titty time! Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we're here with episode 2 of Cutie Honey. Last episode surprised me. First episode, I should say. Because, going into this, I didn't really know much of anything about what it was about. I didn't know it was ecchi. I didn't know, it was going to have kind of the vibes of Panty and Stocking. Just this insane, constantly moving series that kind of, pays homage to the likes of Lupin the Third and Power Rangers and Sailor Moon and various things like that. It's an obvious satire that's kind of not only acting as a parody of all of this kind of stuff, but also a love letter. It's meant to, you know, playfully and kindly mock it, while also showcasing how much the creator clearly had love and inspiration from these kinds of specific sources. Um, the character of Honey is pretty likable. She's a little bit ditzy, but she also shows herself to be smart at times. She's funny, she's kind, she's, a heroic person by nature, and she wants revenge for her father's death. Her father being kind of both her literal, biological father and her creator. Because Honey is she's a cyborg, but they call her an android. And this is a very common thing, with media, mixing up those terms. Because the thing is, a cyborg is a human who has had cybernetic enhancements or modifications to their body. An android is a pure robot made to look human. A great example of this, the androids from Detroit Become Human are androids. They are purely robots. They are plastic, they are metal, they are machinery. They have never been human, quote unquote. Though, the game is all about what makes a human and all of that stuff. But you get what I'm saying. While the androids in Dragon Ball Z are not androids. They have never been androids. They are cyborgs because they started off as human. The androids in the Dragon Ball series were human first and were modified into being, cyborgs. This is more akin to that because Honey was a real girl. She was killed, and the remains, even as little remains as there were, you know, reformed into a robot body. It would still technically be a cyborg. It would still technically count as that. But we see Honey is also a master of disguise. She is an excellent, just standard fighter. And she seems to have very little issue with people seeing her naked. She's not very bashful. I don't think she necessarily wants people to see her naked, but she's not going to be super worried about it. The only time she actually acts bashful about it is when she's clearly playfully doing so. It's clearly meant to be playful and kind of seductive, which is completely fine, by the way. And that's fine in real life too if anyone has that kind of attitude towards nudity. There's been so much of our history where, especially in the media, nudity is seen as something to be excuse me, something to be ashamed of, something to be seen as oh, a private matter only. But in recent years and all, it's like people have stopped just really weirdly um, stigmatizing it, because it's always been a weird fucking thing. Um, and it's led to a lot of like terrible ideologies, such as the seeming hatred of sex workers that we've had, because so many people have like hated on sex workers or treated them as like not is doing not real work, or treated like porn as being like an alternative rather than, making a real life for yourself. And it's really gross, because sex work is work and it deserves to be respected just as much. And yeah, some people do engage in it because they were having no luck otherwise. It's true. But there's a lot of people who engage in it just because they like to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not inherently negative for a woman to want to film herself or just get filmed having sex and showing off her nude body. There's nothing wrong with a man or a woman or NB or anyone doing so. Or like putting nude photos and stuff on an OnlyFans page or anything like that. There's a lot of people who find it extremely empowering, who find it to like be like really like emotionally empowering, and that's just as valid as anything else. But because of how nudity is often viewed, there is a sort of stigma against it because of media and, the churches trying to control us and everything. And yes, that is a part of it, because the church has absolutely tried to control the media and politics and shit, and in a lot of cases succeeded. So, but it's just this ridiculous thing that's been like forced on our society for so long, and a lot of us, even those who have not grown up specifically Christian, have faced kind of the repercussions of this idea. And it's just like, just let people live as they want to live. It's not hurting anyone. It's like, if you don't want to see it, don't watch it. Don't engage in it. It's that simple. And I actually really like it when people find empowerment through this kind of thing. As long as they're of age, of course. Because, like, otherwise it's just creepy. And I'm talking especially about a lot of, like, anime nowadays. Because there's a lot of anime that tries to, like, kind of use this kind of message of sexual empowerment, but they use it for underage characters, and that really bothers me, because it's like, yeah, they're fictional characters, sure, but it's like, you're reaching into territory that's really fucking gross and, just not okay. Because even if they're fictional characters, they're still kids. And it's still representative of things that are just not okay. It's like, if you can completely separate that from reality, good for you. But the problem is, it's too close to something that's like really fucked up for me, that I just cannot abide by. And it's just, it's something that is just excessively gross and uncomfortable for me. And it's the reason why I can't watch stuff like Kill la Kill. And Kill la Kill is very clearly trying to send a sex positive message too, but its main characters are children. So it's just like, that really is fucking gross to me. But then you have a series like this where it's like, oh, the main character is a cyborg of an adult woman who has, like a paying job even, and well, she had a paying job. She kind of got fired from that, clearly. But it's like, the characters here are adults. And so it's like, okay. we can live with that then. It's just one of those cases where a lot of a lot of anime tends to over sexualize child characters, and it's just, you can't make a sex positive message out of that when when your message is built around characters who engaging in stuff like this would be considered assault. It's just, it's it's not okay in my eyes. It's something that bothers me greatly, and something that I find to be morally and ethically wrong. But this series does it right, and parody usually does, because parody, satire, and everything is more acceptable usually. Kill la Kill, by the way, is not satire. It's trying to be very serious with its messages, even with it being a very over the top and goofy series. It's not satire exactly. That's not how it's presented. But I'm not going to get into that entire thing here. I'm not trying to start an argument on the comments about what constitutes as satire. Satire for me is stuff like this that is very clearly made for the purpose of making fun of stuff like this. Another example for me would be Panty and Stocking, obviously, as like it's made to mock it. It's made to mock the over sexualization of anime and manga and whatnot. While Kill la Kill is just trying to be like a story, a over the top, goofy, ridiculous story, but still, it's not trying to make fun of this kind of thing. It's trying to be an actual thing. I don't know how else I'm bad at explaining things. The point is, I like how shows like this, like satires like this, and again, Panty and Stocking, and even Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid to a degree, handle this kind of stuff. Because it's again, it's mocking the other manga and anime that do shit like this. But moving on from just that theming and everything, so far I think the character I'm actually, funny enough, most attracted to is the character who has not lost her clothing yet, and that is Aki. Natsuko Aki, who is the police detective who stands for justice and everything, and is very against the corruption and, craziness of this police department. She's very much like a by the books kinds of officer, but is very clearly starting to loosen up a lot more. And yeah, I find her really attractive. Since last week, I watched that one shot of her, where it's like, all the bad guys are shooting at the police. They run one way, and then you see Natsuko come like from the other direction, like walk past them, but it's like it kind of slows down into this really cool action shot. I have watched that single shot dozens of times since last week. It's so fucking good. But it's like her energy, her attitude, her just overall like vibe is like super hot to me, and it's one of those things I can't fully explain because it's just an internal thought. It's an internal feeling. It's not one of those things like, oh, it's because of this, and this. No, it's just like, I don't know exactly what it is about the way she moves, the way she carries herself, the way she speaks, and the attitude she gives and everything. It's just the combination of all that, for some reason, is extremely hot to me. And just as a reminder, we are watching the dub because I just randomly chose to do so. And with a series like this, that's very clearly like Panty and Stocking, I think that's just the better choice anyway, after having found that out last week. Because it's like, this is the kind of series where the dub kind of like highlights how like funny and good this can be. It's like with Panty and Stocking. I've checked out the sub for Panty and Stocking. It's nowhere near the level of the dub. The dub elevates the series. It elevates the humor. And this is definitely one of those cases too. It's for the same kind of reasons. It's for the same kind of performances that are given. It elevates the humor. It's like this dialogue, this writing would not be as good without these performances, specifically. And I stand by that. So, yeah, we're going to get into this. This is the second of 3 episodes because it's just a short OVA, unfortunately. I wish there was more, but there's not. And hopefully, this ends up being just as good and just as insane as the last episode. But just as another warning, there's going to be a lot of tits in this. This is an ecchi series. There is a lot of almost complete nudity. There's no crotches shown, but like it gets pretty close. Either way, let's get this going and see what kind of insanity we're in for today. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Well, this is awkward. I barely enjoyed that episode. And it's not even that it was bad. It wasn't bad at all. It was very well done. It's just, it was so drastically more serious than the first episode that it felt like almost like an entirely different show. The first episode was super goofy, super silly, obviously making fun of a lot. There was a lot of parody, a lot of cool moments, a lot of like really like cool animation moments. Like I talked about the moment from episode 1 in the pre-thoughts, where it like shows the cops running. It's like obviously the little chibi designs of the cops running away from the Panther Claw goons shooting at them, and then as they're running, like Nat like starts moving the other way, like power walking, but it like slows the animation down and becomes like really cool like that. They had no moments like that in this episode, not just from Nat, from anyone. There were no moments even kind of like that in this episode. The animation was good, but it wasn't as good as episode 1. It felt like a bit of a downgrade. Again, it wasn't bad by any means. It was still very high quality. Definitely still higher quality than you would expect from a show of that era, but I don't know if it's just this was the episode they had to save budget on. Because it's like, oh, episode 1 we're going to put everything into because we want to hook our viewers in. And episode 3 being the final episode, we obviously want to put everything into because, you know, it's the final episode. There's only 3 episodes in this fucking OVA. I don't know. But it's also the, like, just energy of this was so much lower. There wasn't as much, like, again, silliness and goofiness and just energy. It was drastically more serious, touching on like the topics of like Honey dealing with the repercussions of her actions and worrying about what others think of her, Nat learning to like value Honey and growing a lot closer to her, but also like struggling with her own feelings about that. We have obviously the setups with the reporter guy whose name I can just not remember, and the old woman as well, the janitor lady, them both clearly being something more than what they've claimed to be. We have obviously the commentary with the people being, gaslit into hating Honey and just, targeting all women because of Honey's transformative abilities. This is all good stuff, like really good stuff. But the way it's presented and the way this entire episode is presented is so serious. It's like so excessively like intense in a way that just feels super different than the first episode. Because the first episode, it's like, this is clearly a parody. It's clearly making fun of all this stuff. You have obviously all this jokey shit. You have like satire on, again, magical girl stuff. You have satire on Lupin the Third and other works that this creator has had their hands in. Devilman, I think, was part of it too. You have satire on Power Rangers and stuff like that, and just all this kind of stuff. And it's, again, very high energy, very quick-witted, very snappy, a lot of crazy stuff happening constantly. It keeps you on your toes, and it's like very fun and energetic. And yeah, there's a lot of nudity, but it never feels like it's, I mean, it does feel like it's for fan service, but it feels so intentionally placed that it doesn't feel distracting or like poorly handled at all, which is wild. And then you have this episode, which is just super serious, has as much less nudity, which that's not that big of an issue. That's neither here nor there, but I'm just noting there was a lot less nudity in this episode, just to point that out. And again, it's like the energy was like almost nothing compared to the first one. It was super serious, super intense, getting even existential to a degree. And like, even like with the ending part, like where Nat has to protect Honey and stop the reporter guy, I wish I remembered names easier, from killing her, because he was planning on destroying her completely with the anti-nano machine weapon, because she had gone out of control. But Nat has to step in, not only block him, but convince Honey that she can help her, and even, apologizes for her previous words and actions, and eventually even strips down to like give her, her body heat to connect with her on that like heart level, as was made a big point of. Again, I understand that is the reason she was doing it, the reason she stripped naked and like, went breast to breast with her. It was specifically because Honey's heart was calling out to her, and she wanted to like, she realized the physical touch was like helping like kind of bring her back. So she it's basically the equivalent of cuddling for warmth in like a cold environment, except in this case it's not just for warmth, it's for like literally bringing her back from being out of control. And so it makes sense, logically speaking, it makes sense. But that's the thing, it's like I ship the shit out of them, and like the queerness of this series continues to be a thing, but it's like it feels like this episode was trying to be too serious and trying to make too much sense. It was like it was trying to actually bring logic and like almost a sense of like, how do I word this, not realism, but a sense of logical like vibes to it. I don't know how else to put it at the moment. It's like they tried to turn it into an actual show instead of a satire of all of these different kinds of topics and everything. And it feels so out of place after the first episode. Like, a lot of OVAs I know are released like months apart and stuff in some cases, but I have no idea how this one was released. But if this was all like released at once, this like watching these two episodes back to back would give you extreme tonal whiplash. Again, it feels like kind of an entirely different show. And I know there's other versions of like Cutie Honey. There's other takes on the series and everything. So like maybe like this would work for like a different take on it. But again, after the first episode, it feels so jarring to suddenly go to something so serious. And I don't know what the third episode's gonna do, but it's just I just really feel like it dropped the ball here. Again, I want to make very clear, it's not bad. The episode was really good. But the tone and vibe of it was so drastically different that it feels extremely wrong to follow up from that first episode like this. And I have no problem with a more comedic series getting serious at times. Like Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid gets serious at times. But you have to pace that properly. And when you have a 3-episode OVA, like, this is not how you do it. You can have like a serious moment or two or whatnot in the episode. Hell, that entire that ending bit with, again, like him threatening to kill her and Nat having to protect her and all, that could have absolutely still happened. That's not an issue. But it's an issue because it's also surrounded by the entire rest of this episode being super serious. Like, even with the goofy, like, enemy designs and stuff like that, it's like the episode was aggressively serious. And it's just, it feels so out of place. And with 3 episodes to work with, it's like you really can't make that big of a tone change and expect it to work. It's just a matter of like an extremely unfitting tone change that just hurts the overall vibe of the episode. Compared to after the first. If the first episode was more like this too, cool, fine, whatever. That would have been okay then, because it would have matched the tone. And it still would have been great because of that. But it's like the tone switching is just so wild to me. It's like you go from the tone of panty and stocking to like, I don't know. This is obviously an exaggeration, an extreme exaggeration, but Attack on Titan. Think about that. Not necessarily like late Attack on Titan where it gets like extremely serious to a detrimental degree, in my opinion. But like, let's say early Attack on Titan, where there's still a lot of seriousness to it, but it's not like overly so. But it's still so jarring to the first half because they're the first episode, because the first episode more has the tone of panty and stocking. So it's like you would never compare panty and stocking to Attack on Titan in terms of tone. So why in the same series would you make a switch that is like similar enough to that? It just doesn't make sense to me. Again, I want to make absolutely clear. I keep repeating myself, but I want to make it 100% clear. As it was, the episode was still like a 9 out of 10. Still fantastic. Like, the actual serious stuff that was being discussed and showcased in this was great. It was well handled. It was well written. It was believable. It was emotional. I felt bad for Honey. And I definitely believed Nat's development here. But the tone really just does not work after how episode 1 went. It's all about the tone. It's all about that shift that was so just jarring and like shockingly almost kind of upsetting. Because when I watched the first episode, that's the kind of thing I was into it for. I love the tone. I love the goofiness. I love how it was just this great satire of all of this, and even had like these like really impactful moments of animation, these really goofy, ridiculous moments. And it's like that's what was appealing about it. So I'm just so lost as to why they changed it up this drastically. But hopefully episode 3 brings it back. If episode 3 is like bigger and is like as serious as this one, or even more so or whatnot, it's like I'm gonna like be really disappointed. Because it feels like they'll really have dropped the ball. And maybe that would have worked with more episodes. Like maybe if they had 6 episodes and did the first 3 as more goofy and then started to move into the more serious stuff. Like I could see that working. I've seen shows where it starts off pretty goofy and silly but gets more serious as it goes along. To where it's like, okay, we're going to start off, be a little more lighthearted, but then we're going to start getting into some really heavy shit. Like One Piece. It's like, oh, fun pirate adventure, and then all of a sudden the government is manipulating you and killing your people, and it's just like, Jesus fuck. But One Piece at least keeps a consistent tone. As much as it brings in the heavier shit, it at least keeps the generalized tone of the series consistent. There's still just as much goofy shit in the latter parts of it. And still, there's very serious shit in the early parts of it. It's just the overall vibe of it does change, but it keeps the tone consistent nonetheless. The overall tone. But yeah, it's like there was a lot to enjoy about the episode, and there was a lot of obviously like lore given with it. Not to mention, it's like getting to see these 2 Panther Claw members was pretty fun. We got to see like a good amount of both of them. Neither of them felt like they were underutilized compared to the other. Both Scarlet Claw and Cobalt Claw felt really well used. And I like how very different they both were too. With Cobalt Claw being obviously this big, like, dominatrix type character, while Scarlet Claw is, like, more manipulative and cutesy, while also being extremely sarcastic and sassy. It's kind of interesting and fun to see. Also, we now know that Nats has some pretty small tits. I am really still surprised that we got to see her full on naked in episode 2. I was really not expecting that until episode 3. But yeah, it's like it just shows like full on, and I mean, yeah, her tits are like maybe half the size of Honey's. I mean, honestly, probably not even. Maybe a third of the size. I'm looking at it like right here at on the episode. Yeah, it's like probably maybe a third of the size. She's pretty small. She's not flat by any means. She has tits. But like compared to Honey's, they're like not really comparable. I don't know how far this is going to go, because obviously, like I said in the first episode, and like I obviously here with Honey and Nat, there's pretty blatant queer shit in this. There's a lot of queerness to it. Like even that one villain design is like, oh, woman with like female like designed character with tits, but having a giant cannon dick. Like, come on. That was very clearly a dick. It was meant to be like a cannon dick. And so it's like, yeah, there's inherent queerness to this series. But I don't know how far they're going to go, especially with when this came out. But then again, like this show has surprised me a lot for when this came out. I would love to see like these two like actually get together in the end. I don't know if it's going to happen, probably not, but I would love to see it because it's like obviously you're meant to ship them. Like even with the like sharing the heat scene, it's like, oh yeah, this is not really even subtle. But I also think I kind of like played around with the idea of like maybe having a throuple as well with the last episode, and it's like that's still kind of up in the air. That's still possible. Though I definitely want to know more about him, and definitely the old woman, the janitor lady, because there was clearly something going on with her. Was she the one that he was talking to on the phone? And what is their entire thing going on here? He says he's like some kind of like guardian for her. Was he like hired by her father to take care of her and watch over her in case something like this happened with Panther Claw and him being killed? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Maybe episode 3 will tell us. But this is definitely one of those shows that needed more episodes. And this tone shift, I think, is probably because of only having 3 episodes. Like, for a full series, this tone shift would have been handled better. It would have been more paced out. It's just like 3 episodes is just so little. And having a massive tone shift like this really does hurt the overall enjoyment of the series. But we'll, like I said, we'll see how episode 3 goes. We'll see how this all closes out. And hopefully things turn out well. So that being said, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Cutie Honey. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.